Deep within the Silver Dragon dungeon, two guards stood watch over the towering gate. Suddenly, heavy footsteps rang out, and a strange energy rippled through the dark corridor. Startled, the guards spun around, fear flashing in their eyes as they recognized their queen. Rosswise, the Silver Dragon Queen, approached with regal confidence. She ordered them away, wanting to confront the prisoner alone. As the guards obeyed, she stepped into the cell, her piercing gaze cutting through the gloom. There sat Leon Cosmo, once a legendary hero, now bound in heavy chains. She asked him coldly how it felt to be a prisoner of the Dragon Clan. Leon lifted his head, eyes sharp despite his restraints, and told her to kill him. Amused, Rosswise tilted her head, intrigued by his defiance. She asked if he truly desired death so quickly. Stepping closer, she told him it wouldn't be so simple. He was strong, striking, and still full of spirit. Her fingers brushed his chin as she mocked him, saying scars would only make him look perfect. Leon growled, shouting for her to stop humiliating him and just strike him down. Instead, she proposed something unexpected: to join the Silver Dragon Clan. Leon smirked, eyes narrowing, and asked if she was even worthy of his loyalty. That insult lit a fire in her eyes, shock and fury blazing within them. In an instant, she struck him with a blow so powerful, his chains shattered like glass. He fell to the cold ground, coughing as dust swirled around them. Rosswise pinned him there with a crushing fist, her expression filled with rage. "How dare you speak to me like this?" she hissed. With a mocking laugh, she sneered that his legend meant nothing now. She called him a pitiful fool and promised his death would be slow and certain. Leon spat bitterly that she had stolen his dream of leaving a legacy behind. Rosswise chuckled darkly, saying it was an amusing thought, but he'd never bear an heir. Leon roared with defiance, telling her never to underestimate humanity. In a flash, her tail whipped around his neck, coiling like a serpent. She lifted him effortlessly into the air, taunting him for his stubbornness. Leon clawed at her tail, his breath growing shallow as her grip tightened. Even at death's door, he managed to rasp out her name. Rosswise smiled, amused, ready to beg for mercy, she teased. But Leon, struggling for air, revealed she'd made two fatal mistakes. Her brows furrowed as he declared the first, isolating herself with the Dragon Slayer. Then he roared the second, the one she'd never escaped. "Tasting my blood," he growled. Rosswise froze. A chill swept through her as realization struck. She'd triggered a blood curse. Instantly, her tail loosened and Leon crashed to the floor, gasping for breath. He crawled backwards, his gaze locked on her as the curse took hold. Rosswise staggered, heat rushing through her body uncontrollably. She dropped to her knees, her breathing ragged, confusion twisting her features. What is happening to me?" she spat, clutching herself. Leon smirked darkly, his voice low. "That's my soul burning you alive. You'll feel it forever." Tears welled in the Dragon Queen's eyes as the torment escalated. Then, with a feral growl, she lunged at him. The force of her strike slammed him to the stone floor. Leon groaned in shock, staring up at her glowing, wild eyes. But instead of killing him, she pinned him, her expression unreadable. Suddenly, she leaned down and kissed him, hard and desperate. Leon froze, stunned, utterly speechless. Hours later, the dungeon floor was littered with chains and torn garments. Rosswise stirred, her glowing eyes still marked by the curse's power. She sat upright, scanning the dim room, trying to piece together what had happened. Her gaze locked onto Leon, fury flashing across her face. "What have you done to me?" she roared. Leon, calm, despite his exhaustion, explained, "The curse binds our souls. When I die, you'll suffer agony beyond comprehension." The queen hissed, calling him a liar. "That pain, it should only happen upon your death." Leon laughed bitterly, admitting he hadn't expected this side effect. Rosswise screamed for him to shut up, her rage boiling over, but Leon's smirk returned. "Aren't dragons supposed to be faithful to just one mate?" He revealed that she'd never bear another child or take another partner again. The curse was stronger than he even imagined. "Looks like you'll die without a successor too," he taunted. Rosswise trembled, her magic sparking violently around her. "You bastard," she snarled. Leon met her glare calmly. "Go on, kill me if you want. My time's almost up anyway." His voice turned dark. "This is my curse, that you'll live on, consumed by hate and pain." The dragoness turned away, silently dressing herself, her fury simmering beneath the surface. She whispered, "How can a mere human take revenge so cruel, yet still seek death?" Power flared
bared in her palm, her voice dripping venom. "You are a fool, Leon Cosmo, and a disgrace." With a flash of blinding energy, she struck him directly in the chest, her anger unleashed.
Leon Cosmo was once celebrated as a legendary dragon-slaying hero. At just 5 years old, he had slain a wild beast with his bare hands, earning the attention of a passing dragon hunter who took him as an apprentice. By the age of 10, he entered the Imperial Academy, graduating as its youngest and highest-ranked student in recorded history. At 15, he was already on the battlefield, carving his name into history by slaying dragons and reclaiming lands for the Empire. He became humanity's strongest warrior, their sole beacon of hope against the Dragon Clan. But all that glory ended when he was captured, imprisoned by dragons, and 2 years passed in silence. Suddenly, Leon awoke with a sharp cry, his body trembling as if emerging from a long nightmare. He gasped for air, his eyes darting around an unfamiliar and lavish room. A hand instinctively clutched his chest as he tried to steady his breath, confusion clouding his mind. Where am I?" he whispered, staring at the elegant surroundings. The soft creak of a door interrupted his thoughts. A small, dark-haired girl peeked through the opening, her bright eyes curious. With a gentle voice, she remarked that he was finally awake. Leon froze, struck by how impossibly cute she was. A strange thought crossed his mind. Had he died and ascended to heaven for his service to humanity? You must be an angel," he murmured in awe. The girl tilted her head, puzzled. "What's an angel?" He smiled warmly and asked for her name. With a cheerful grin, she replied, "My name's Moon." Leon chuckled softly, saying it was beautiful, though her strange silver hair caught his attention. Moon explained with a giggle, "Mama says my hair's like the moon." His smile faltered for a moment. "Angels have mothers?" He lifted her gently into his arms, introducing himself. "I'm Leon Cosmo." Moon's face lit up. "Mama said Leon means lion." Leon blinked in surprise. "Your mama told you that?" Moon nodded proudly. But suspicion crept over him as he hesitantly asked, Who is your mother?" With an innocent giggle, she said, "Rosswise." His entire body stiffened. The name hit him like a thunderbolt. Rosswise, the Silver Dragon Queen. His mind raced, connecting the dots, but Moon's next words froze him completely. "You're my daddy," she declared with a radiant smile. Leon was paralyzed, unable to speak, his mind spinning. "Are you really my daddy?" she asked again before calling out for her mother. The confirmation left him breathless, his heart pounding. Moments later, Rosswise herself appeared, her presence commanding as ever. "Daddy's awake," Moon said brightly, but the queen only smirked. "I know." Her calm, confident tone sent a chill down Leon's spine. Moon, delighted, said, "Mama must be happy. You visited him every day." Rosswise nodded, but Leon clenched his fists, silently cursing. The queen sent Moon outside to play, her tone gentle yet firm. Once they were alone, Leon swallowed hard. "She's really my daughter?" Rosswise met his gaze, her voice cool. "Yes, by blood, she's yours." Her tail lashed against the floor as anger glimmered in her eyes. "You despise me, don't you?" Leon stepped back, his voice sharp. Why did you save me? Why have a child with me?" Rosswise's expression hardened. "You've been unconscious for 2 years, Leon. Did you think I would simply let that night pass without consequence?" Leon's fists tightened as rage filled him. "I never wanted this. We're enemies. I would never have touched you under any other circumstance." Rosswise smirked darkly. "So being with me was torture?" "Of course it was," he spat. In an instant, her tail lashed out, coiling around his leg. With a single pull, Leon was yanked off balance, crashing onto the bed. Rosswise loomed over him, her gaze predatory. "What are you planning to do?" he demanded, fear lacing his voice. Without answering, her claws tore through his shirt in one swift motion. A glowing magic circle formed in her hand, and her voice was low and dangerous. "I'm going to mark you as mine." Leon's eyes widened in horror as he thrashed beneath her. "Stop!" he roared, but the queen pressed her hand against his chest, and a burning sensation spread through his body. "This mark will be your greatest shame. You'll belong to me forever." Leon grit his teeth, pain searing through him as she continued. "Imagine what your comrades will say. The hero, branded with the dragon's seal." Leon gasped, the magic crawling across his skin like fire. Why go this far?" Rosswise leaned in close, her eyes cold. "Because dragons do not forgive. Our revenge is absolute." Her voice dripped with venom. "You will live branded by my hand, humiliated for the rest of your days." Leon clenched his fists, pain mixed with shame as the mark etched itself onto him. But Rosswise smiled with satisfaction, her eyes gleaming with triumph. "For me," she murmured, "this mark is the highest honor." She leaned down, her voice a whisper against his ear. "Now, let your life as a dragon's prey truly begin." The scene opens within the towering halls of the Grand Silver Dragon Castle. Two maids chat quietly, gossiping that their queen seems unusually cheerful now that her husband has awakened from his coma. From the shadows, Leon Cosmo overhears their words, irritation flashing in his eyes at being called her husband. Memories of Roswell
Rosweiss's crushing embrace the night before flood his mind, the way she had nearly broken his body. He clenches his fists, his decision solid. He will not be her plaything. He will escape, no matter the cost. Moving stealthily, Leon observes one of the castle's fortified gates. 4 powerful dragon guards stand watch, their presence making it impossible to flee that way. Yet something gnaws at him. The eerie silence, the lack of guards elsewhere in the castle. As he searches for an opening, something unusual catches his eye beyond the wall. In the grass, nearly hidden from view, is a small hole leading into darkness. Leon crouches down, suspicion rising. Could this be a trap? Despite his doubts, desperation wins. This is his only chance. With one last glance at the towering castle, he mutters a bitter farewell. Keep Moon safe. She's yours. Then he slips into the narrow tunnel, vanishing into the darkness. But from afar, a pair of curious eyes watches him go. Little Moon, with her silver hair glinting in the sunlight, tugs at her mother's sleeve. Mommy, look, Daddy's digging like a dog, she giggles. Rosweiss, the silver dragon queen, smiles softly. Incredible, isn't he? Moon tilts her head. So he's my real daddy? Rosweiss kneels, cupping her daughter's face. It's not polite to say real, my love. Say this instead. Bring him back. Moon nods with a cheerful grin, though she doesn't yet understand. Meanwhile, Leon sprints through the dense forest beyond the castle. Branches whip against his face, his breath ragged as he pushes his body to its limit. Almost there. Human territory is just beyond the mountains. At last, he stops to catch his breath, convinced he's gone far enough. But his relief is short-lived. A chill runs down his spine as he senses something approaching. Looking up, his eyes widen in horror. Rosweiss, he whispers. The silver dragon descends from the sky in her full, majestic form. Her thunderous voice echoes. Amused. Impressive. You truly are a great runner. Leon's heart races as her massive tail crashes into the ground before him, blocking his path. Rosweiss lands gracefully, her gleaming eyes fixed on him. Wouldn't it be fun to play some more? She teases. Leon grits his teeth, realizing the truth. You made that hole for me, didn't you? A playful smirk spreads across her face. I did. I wanted to see how far you get. His eyes narrow. I knew it was a trap. I just didn't think you'd catch me that fast. The dragon queen circles him slowly. Do you think humans will still call you a dragon slayer with my mark carved into your chest? Leon glares. I'd rather start a new life as an ordinary man than keep suffering under you. Her expression hardens. You truly don't appreciate kindness, Leon Cosmo. With one powerful motion, her enormous claw scoops him up like a toy. He struggles as she takes flight, soaring high into the night sky. Where are you taking me? He roars over the howling wind. Rosweiss's voice is calm, chilling. I'm helping you return. Hours later, beneath the light of the moon, the dragon glides over the borderlands. Suddenly, she releases her grip. Leon plummets through the air, screaming in shock as branches whip against him during his descent. With a bone-jarring thud, he crashes into the forest floor, groaning in pain as he clutches his head. Gritting his teeth, he forces himself to stand, scanning the tree line. Then his eyes widen in horror. In the distance, glimmers a brightly lit city. Is that a human city? He breathes.
Behind him, Rosweiss appears in her human form, her silver hair gleaming under the moonlight. Yes, she says softly, that's your empire. Leon spins around, disbelief etched on his face. Rosweiss steps closer, her tone sharp. Did you really think you could just walk back into that city like nothing happened? A sly smile curves her lips. Even this close, you'll never truly go back. Suddenly, Leon clutches his chest as a burning sensation flares from his dragon mark. A violet glow spreads across his body. Rosweiss's voice drips with amusement. When one of us feels intense desire, the other reacts. You feel it, don't you? The heat coursing through your body? Leon glares at her. You want to do this here? Her smirk deepens. I brought you here so you'd understand true shame. Right in front of your precious homeland. Leon's jaw tightens. You think I'll lose hope over this? You're wrong. In a sudden burst of strength, he grabs her wrist, his voice fierce. I swear I'll repay every bit of this humiliation twice over. Rosweiss freezes, momentarily stunned by his defiance. A faint blush rises to her cheeks. Slowly, a smile spreads across her lips. Good, she says with a soft voice. I'll be waiting, alive or dead. Beneath the shade of a towering tree near the Empire's border town, Leon Cosmo rests against its trunk, utterly drained. Beside him, Rosweiss reclines gracefully, her satisfied smile making his exhaustion even more obvious. You've done well, she teases, her voice dripping with amusement. Leon groans in frustration, barely able to lift his head. As she stretches, Rosweiss playfully suggests, perhaps I'll bring you here every month. A little hometown visit, don't you think? His face twists in irritation. You're obsessed. All you want is to drain me of every ounce of strength I have, Dragon Queen. Rosweiss smirks at his defiance. but rises elegantly to her feet. Enough. Moon is waiting for us at home. She turns to leave, but Leon's voice stops her. Wait. Intrigued, she glances back at him. Leon forces himself to his feet, determination flashing in his tired eyes. I'm a dragon slayer, not some trophy to be carried around like prey. I'll make the journey on my own. Her brows lift, amused by his audacity. It's more than a 10-day trek, even for you. Don't underestimate a human's endurance, he retorts. A slow, challenging smile curves her lips. Very well. Let's see how long you last. Hours later, Leon trudges through the dense forest, sweat dripping from his face, every step heavier than the last. His breathing becomes ragged, his body screaming in protest. Finally, he collapses against a tree, gasping for air. From behind, Rossweiss approaches, her tone almost mocking. Do you need help? I'm fine, he grits out, refusing to look at her. Her laughter is soft but cutting. The only thing strong about you is that stubborn pride. He shoots her a glare, and the tension between them thickens like a storm ready to break. Suddenly, movement in the distance catches Leon's eye. Through the trees, armored figures appear, a squadron of dragon slayers. His heart leaps with hope. They could help me escape. But beside him, Rossweiss's expression darkens, her killing intent radiating like an icy wind. He instantly understands. If he calls out, every one of them will die. One of the knights raises his hand, signaling his men to halt. A man in decorated armor steps forward, his sharp gaze scanning Leon and Rossweiss. You two seem lost, the captain remarks. Leon forces a strange smile. Just out for a walk. He keeps his voice light, determined to keep these soldiers out of danger. The captain nods, but his tone is wary. These woods are dangerous. We can escort you back. Leon shakes his head politely. That won't be necessary. We can handle ourselves. He studies him carefully. You look familiar. Have we met? Rossweiss stiffens. Her eyes flash with fury, and her hand glows faintly with energy. Leon reacts instantly, grabbing her hand to stop her. In a quick move, he pulls her into an embrace, laughing awkwardly. You're mistaken, Captain. I just have one of those common faces. Through clenched teeth, he whispers to Rossweiss, let me handle this. The captain stares at them, suspicion flickering in his eyes. But then he chuckles. My apologies. I won't intrude on your romantic stroll any further. With that, he signals his men, and the squad disappears into the forest, their wagon wheels creaking down the dark road. As silence settles once more, Rossweiss glares at Leon. Was that hug long enough? She asks coldly, before shoving him backward. Leon stumbles, but holds his ground. You were smart not to involve them, she says, her voice low, but don't forget your place. Her gaze sharpens. I am not your wife. Never forget that. With a flick of her hair, she turns away. The road is long. Keep up. Leon tries to respond, but is struck by a sudden, searing pain in his body. He clutches his arm, his vision blurring, the world tilting around him. Damn it, he mutters, staggering forward. Rossweiss glances back, irritation flashing across her face until she sees him collapse. Unbelievable, she mutters, approaching his unconscious body. KO by exhaustion. Fragile human, she sighs, releasing a surge of energy that ripples through the forest. With little effort, she lifts him into her arms. Moments later, her body shifts, scales spreading across her skin as she transforms into her true form, a majestic silver dragon. With one powerful motion, she tosses him gently into the air, catching him carefully in her jaws. Once secured, she places him on her back, his unconscious body lying against her gleaming scales. Under the starlit sky, she soars across the heavens, her massive wings cutting through the cool night air. Consider this a plea for mercy, she murmurs softly, glancing at him. As dawn breaks, the pair returns to the towering silver dragon castle, its spires glowing under the morning sun. Inside the towering silver dragon castle, Leon slowly opens his eyes, finding himself lying in a soft, luxurious bed. At his side, a familiar, cheerful voice breaks the silence. Dottie, you're awake! Moon exclaims, her tiny hands gripping the edge of the mattress. Leon blinks in confusion, his mind still foggy. How did I get back here? The little girl beams with pride. Mommy brought you home! Her words trigger a memory of Rossweiss capturing him, carrying him like prey. He winces at the thought. His attention shifts to his right hand, now carefully wrapped in clean, white bandages. I did that, Moon says proudly, puffing out her chest. I fixed Daddy's hand. Leon's gaze softens as he studies her bright eyes. Dragons are supposed to be ruthless, merciless, he thinks to himself. But this little one, she's different. Maybe it's because she's a hybrid. Maybe it's because she really sees him as her father. With a warm smile, he ruffles her hair. You did great, Moon. You're amazing. The girl beams at his praise, her tail flicking happily. Just don't grow up to be like your mother, okay? He adds teasingly. Moon tilts her head in confusion, not understanding. Suddenly, a cold voice cuts through the air. And what, exactly, is wrong with being like me? Leon stiffens, glancing toward the door. Rossweiss steps in gracefully, a tray in her hands. I didn't say anything, Leon blurts out awkwardly, watching her approach. Moon proudly gestures to her handiwork. Mommy, I did the bandages just like you told
told me to. Rosweiss's expression doesn't change. Good, that's what you were supposed to do. Moon nods obediently. Leon frowns, thinking to himself how strict she is with her daughter. Moon, Leon says gently, why don't you go hide in the garden? Daddy will come find you. Her face lights up instantly. Hide and seek? Okay, go, quick. I'm not like mommy, I won't give you extra time, Leon teases. Moon giggles and darts toward the hallway. 1, 2, 3, he starts counting, watching her little form disappear into the corridor. Not so fast, Daddy, she calls out playfully. Once she's out of sight, Leon stops counting and spins to face Rosweiss. Don't you think you're being a little too harsh with her? He demands. Rosweiss sets down the tray calmly, her tone icy. Dragons raise warriors. Discipline is necessary. She's gentle, Leon argues. A gentle is an insult to a dragon, Rosweiss retorts, her eyes narrowing. You know, you're actually pretty cute when you're not breathing fire. Her face tightens, and in a swift motion, she grabs him by the shirt, yanking him close. Don't flatter yourself, she hisses. You're nothing but a slave for me to vent my anger on. Stop throwing yourself at me. Leon's mouth opens, but no words come out. Her fury leaves him stunned. Moments later, Rosweiss exhales sharply, releasing him. As queen, I have duties. Taking care of Moon is your responsibility. Then, in a rare moment of softness, she steps closer and whispers, she adores you, Leon. Don't forget that.
The scene shifts to the sprawling castle gardens, vibrant with flowers and greenery. Leon walks through with a heavy sigh, muttering from dragon slayer to babysitter. Perfect. A sound catches his attention. He glances ahead and sees a small figure hiding behind a marble pillar. With a grin, he points dramatically. Found you! But Moon doesn't move. She just stands there, scowling at him. Leon blinks. What's wrong with her? Sorry I made you wait, he offers awkwardly. Suddenly, the girl spins and bolts down the path. Hey, wait! Where are you going? Leon calls, running after her. He rounds a corner, but she's gone. His confusion deepens. I just saw her go this way. Where'd she? He rubs his temples. I'll never understand kids. Then, in a flash, something lands on his back. Gotcha, Daddy! Moon cheers, clinging to him. Leon stumbles forward. Wait, weren't you just running past me? She giggles. Came to find you because you weren't finding me. Leon stares at her, baffled. Did I see it wrong? Daddy, come see. Moon tugs his hand and leads him down the garden path. He follows, still scratching his head. From a distance, hidden behind a hedge, another little girl watches them silently. Her glowing eyes flicker with quiet curiosity. A few moments later, water from the fountain softly cascaded down the garden wall. Nearby, Moon quietly hummed while concentrating on her drawing. Her father stood behind her, watching with a gentle smile on his face. He thought to himself that having a daughter wasn't so bad after all, feeling warmth heal his soul. In that moment, he vowed to help her escape from the domineering queen. Suddenly, Moon ran to him, proudly showing a family portrait she had sketched. When he looked at it, he was puzzled to see two children in the picture. Curious, he asked about the second figure, and she replied that it was her sister. Completely stunned, he realized that Moon actually had a sister. It dawned on him that he hadn't just struck one target, but two with a single shot. His mind flashed back to the girl he'd seen in the garden, and now her anger made sense. But Moon clarified that her sister wasn't angry at all. She explained that Noah was simply shy when she saw him. He reflected that it was natural, since they'd had only just met. Blaming the queen for this distance, he decided he needed to confront her about it. Meanwhile, in a study far away, the queen sat working at her desk. She lifted her eyes from her reading, her face serious and composed. Just then, he barged in, loudly calling her name. Unmoved, she calmly asked him what he wanted. He stated that their daughter was playing with her sister and demanded to know why she hadn't told him about another child. With a faint smile, Rosweiss teased, asking if he hadn't figured that out yet. He then thanked her for blessing him with two daughters, remarking that she'd certainly worked hard. He even promised to add her name to the family tree, which made her visibly irritated. The queen asked if he understood why she had kept Noah's existence a secret. He accused her of being jealous of his bond with Moon and hiding Noah out of spite. Surprised, Rosweiss questioned if he was truly so eager to meet Noah. Leon declared that he wanted to form a good relationship with his daughters, unlike their cold and distant mother. With a challenging smile, Rosweiss merely warned him that he might regret it later. Later, golden sunlight poured through the kitchen windows. Leon appeared there, holding a knife, wearing a determined smile. As he chopped vegetables, he resolved to win over his timid daughter with a warm meal and make Rosweiss regret her secrecy. He recalled cooking this same stew often for his battalion, as its sweet flavor was always a hit with children. After tasting it, he proudly noted that his cooking skills hadn't faded. Confidently, he imagined Noah enjoying the dish, certain the taste would melt her heart. Outside the kitchen, two maids were watching curiously. They whispered that the prince was a kind dragon, cooking for his family even after recovering from illness. Suddenly, their whispers ceased as Rosweiss arrived, with both daughters. The queen dismissed the maids, telling them they could take the evening off. When the three entered the dining hall, Leon greeted them,
saying they had perfect timing. Moon dashed to him, delighting in the delicious aroma, and he told them he'd made stew and steak just for them. With a tender look, he hoped Noah could sense his feelings through the food, but Noah turned her head away with disdain, leaving him utterly shocked. He wondered why her reaction was so different from what he had imagined. Quietly, he blamed Rosweiss, convinced she had predicted this outcome and delayed their meeting because of it. The queen firmly instructed Noah to introduce herself to her father. Noah crossed her arms and introduced herself as Noah K. Mouth, daughter of the silver-driving queen Rosweiss. Trying to be warm, Leon politely introduced himself as Leon Cosmo, her father. Noah's indifferent expression showed no sign of warmth. Feeling awkward, he wondered if she resented him for some reason. Sensing the tension, Moon whispered to her sister to speak more so she wouldn't embarrass her father. Noah scoffed, doubting he was really her dad, saying he looked far too weak. Her words struck him deeply, leaving him speechless and hurt. Internally, he thought to himself that his daughter was wild and he was facing his very first trial as a father.
Family dinner turned into the most nerve-wracking moment of Leon's life. Though his daughter shared his features, he quickly noticed their personalities were opposite, with Noah being a mirror of her mother. With a hopeful smile, he asked his eldest if the meal he cooked tasted good. Noah bluntly replied that it wasn't, criticizing the meat for being too tough and unpleasant to chew, which ended the conversation abruptly. Watching this exchange, the queen let out a quiet, amused laugh. When Moon asked why she was smiling, Rosweiss replied that it was simply because their family was all together. Moments later, she teased Leon, asking if he wasn't happy as well, and he responded awkwardly that he was. Moon then sweetly asked if her father could join them for dinner every day, and though he agreed, he hesitated internally. Noah quickly interrupted, raising her voice to say she didn't want that. Curious, Moon asked why, and Noah declared she wanted to attend the Young Dragons Academy as soon as possible. Rosweiss reminded her that the school was meant for older dragons and questioned her urgency. The girl confidently stated that she wanted to begin hunting dragon slayers right away, shocking her father. Leon froze, realizing in disbelief that his daughter was eager to defeat him, her own father. He attempted to warn her that such warriors were powerful and the path was dangerous. Noah retorted sharply, demanding not to be treated like a child, though he thought to himself that she truly was one. Backing her up, the queen agreed with Noah's plan, saying starting early meant she would become stronger faster. Rosweiss then challenged him to give a valid reason for stopping Noah from entering the academy. Understanding that resistance would only harm his image further, Leon shifted his approach. He reluctantly agreed, saying he had no objections. In that instant, he saw through Rosweiss's strategy. He pictured her as a towering beast, realizing she was using their own daughter to break him mentally. Vowing silently to take revenge, he listened as Rosweiss declared that he would help Noah prepare for her entrance exam scheduled in a month. Overjoyed, Noah eagerly accepted her mother's orders. Once dinner was over, Moon happily patted her stomach, boasting to her sister about how full she was. When the girls left the table, Leon turned to Rosweiss, calling her name. He then suggested they wash the dishes together, leaving her puzzled. She pointed out that the servants usually handled that. He countered that the true way to end a family dinner was for the parents to clean up as a couple. In a low voice, he asked if she didn't want to create a loving, peaceful home for their daughters, even if it was only an illusion. When Rosweiss glanced back, she saw her daughter peeking at them with hopeful eyes. Seeing her daughter's gaze, the queen reluctantly agreed. Moon cheered at the response and offered to help as well, but Noah quickly grabbed her sister's hand. She firmly pulled her away, insisting that she was coming with her. As the girls disappeared, silence filled the kitchen, broken only by the sight of dirty dishes stacked in the sink. Rosweiss turned to Leon and asked when he was planning to start. He asked her with a confident smirk if she'd forgotten what he told her 2 years ago. He reminded her of his warning never to be alone with a powerful dragon hunter, causing her expression to tighten. Suspicious, she demanded to know what he was plotting. Leon calmly stated that unlike last time, he wouldn't allow himself to be controlled by her anymore. Enraged, Rosweiss lashed at him with her tail, demanding if he truly believed he could escape her. But he easily caught the attack with just his hand. Holding her tail firmly, he asked who had said anything about escaping. The queen gasped in shock at the sudden contact. His strong pull sent her off balance, forcing her to her knees, completely stunned. With a knowing grin, he revealed that he'd read about the sensitivity of a dragon's tail, teasing her, asking if she was powerless now. Stepping closer, he commented that dragons always craved dominance and control. Finally, he asked if any of them had ever known what it felt like to be conquered themselves, leaving her utterly speechless. Rosweiss lay flushed and breathless on the floor, her breathing heavy and uneven. Immediately, she demanded that he release her tail. In return, Leon coldly reminded her of how he had been humiliated solely for her amusement. He then suggested they try something new, which only earned him a storm of insults insults from her. She thrashed in resistance, her tail straining to break free. Meanwhile, two maids outside whispered, wondering if the prince's long night had finally come to an end. A moment later, they stepped into the kitchen, astonished by how spotless it was, and questioned if the prince himself had done the cleaning. One of them smiled softly, enchanted as she admired a gleaming dish. Through a narrow crack in the doorway, the dragon silently watched them talking. Quickly, he hushed Rosweiss, warning her that the servants couldn't see her in such a state. Right after the kitchen door was shut, the queen glared at him with pure fury in her eyes. He stepped closer, declaring firmly that now they could begin. His stare was unwavering, full of resolve. At that moment, her expression softened, her eyes looking helpless. 3 days later, within the towering castle of the kingdom, Moon curiously asked if their father had died from sleeping so long, but Noah decided to check for herself. She landed a small kick to his face, jolting him with pain. Satisfied, Noah announced that he was alive, leaving him stunned at how casually she treated him. As he opened his eyes, he saw the younger girl freeze in surprise at finding him awake. Without hesitation, she ran off to inform Rosweiss, while Leon tried to recall exactly when he had lost consciousness. The queen dryly asked if he truly needed a reminder of what had happened. Suddenly, Leon remembered that night clearly. He had been knocked out cold by a single devastating punch. Sitting up in bed, he reflected that an ordinary man would not have survived such brutality. Yet even after her cruelty, he admitted to himself that she was stunning and far younger looking than her years. Their daughters asked if something was wrong, but Noah replied that he was only staring at their mother. Casually, Rosweiss reached over and tipped a delicate flower ornament off the vanity. The unexpected gesture drew Leon's attention. He picked up the fragile accessory and gently placed it in her hair, telling her it suited her beautifully. Rosweiss then asked if he had said that same line to countless other women. The dragon chuckled and claimed that, as a boy, his only experience was caring for his uncle's donkey. Intrigued, Moon asked what a donkey was. He described it as a creature with long ears that brayed constantly, just like their mother. The jab made Rosweiss glare at him in rage. Moments later, she delivered a powerful punch to his face. The girls quickly asked if he was all right, and he assured them yes, though wincing in pain. The queen then declared that he would begin teaching their daughters how to write, prompting him to grumble about not being consulted first. Moon squealed with excitement at the news, while Noah coolly claimed she could handle it alone. Soon after, the sisters hurried off to the library to grab pencils, and Noah picked the purple one. Left alone with Leon, Rosweiss informed him that her sister would soon be visiting and could not know about the children. He questioned why, wondering aloud if her own family didn't wish to meet them. Rosweiss explained that he was now to be known as Leon Cosmo, a dragon who had awoken after a 2-year slumber. She ordered him to memorize this surname in case he came across her sister. He responded dutifully that he understood the queen's commands, but as he watched her leave, he doubted she believed he would ever truly obey her. Instead, he silently vowed to humiliate her more than ever before, right in front of her own sister.
Later, in the study of the Silver Dragon Temple, the lesson began. Leon showed his daughters how to write, instructing them to watch closely. He wrote their names down, asking them to memorize the letters before practicing. Noah immediately complained that his handwriting was ugly, claiming that her mother's writing was far more elegant. Moon asked what he would do next, and Leon replied that he had to return something to their mother. Before leaving, he warned that he would check their progress, prompting Noah to call him an idiot under her breath. Moon said he seemed happy, but Noah scoffed, admitting that at least he wrote quickly. Still, her faint blush betrayed her. Meanwhile, at the gates of the Silver Dragon Temple, an important guest had arrived. It was Isabel Melki, the queen of the Red Dragons. She embraced Rosweiss warmly, overjoyed to see her sister again after so long. Isabel noted it had been a year since they'd last met, and remarked that her sister looked healthier. She then asked why Rosweiss's husband wasn't there, as she'd heard he had finally awakened. Rosweiss lied, claiming he wasn't feeling well, and Isabel expressed regret at not being able to meet the dragon who had captured her sister's heart. Playfully, she teased that they must be close to have had children so soon. Rosweiss dismissed the notion, insisting the marriage meant nothing. Isabel chuckled, saying she hadn't changed a bit. Rosweiss then suggested they walk to the temple's gates. In the garden, the two queens strolled side by side, their arms linked. From a high window, Leon spied on them through a telescope, recognizing Rosweiss's sister instantly. With a focused expression, he decided it was time to test the dragon mark's power. Meanwhile, Isabel spoke of recent unrest in the Fire Dragon King's domain. Hearing this, Rosweiss thought of the name Constantine, and an image of a fire dragon filled her mind. She asked if he had vanished, but Isabel suggested he might be expanding his territory. Suddenly, her chest glowed intensely, making her flinch sharply. At that exact moment, she sensed a strange connection forming. Isabel asked if something was wrong, but Rosweiss brushed her off, urging her to go on. Inwardly, she cursed Leon, knowing he was behind this. She quickly suggested reinforcing the borders to prevent trouble, but the sensation from the dragon mark only grew stronger. Isabel noticed her sweating and asked if she was unwell. Rosweiss excused herself, claiming she had urgent business and would return in 20 minutes. When Isabel offered to come along, she declined, insisting it wasn't necessary. The Red Dragon Queen chuckled, guessing it was the mark's doing, remarking that young lovers enjoyed playing around. Meanwhile, Leon reclined in his chair, curious how long Rosweiss could withstand it. Moments later, she stormed in, shouting his name, surprising him how quickly she'd arrived. She grabbed him, demanding if he triggered the mark on purpose to humiliate her in front of her sister. Feigning innocence, Leon teased if it was his fault for missing her. His words stunned her, leaving her completely speechless. The dragon made another sly remark that left her flustered, cheeks burning red. He smirked, realizing the dragon mark was effective. He had successfully landed a blow on her pride. Rosevise scolded him, telling a prisoner not to be shameless and to control his thoughts. Privately, she admitted she'd been caught off guard, her anger disrupted. She warned him she'd let it slide this time, but Leon only teased her with a mocking grin. He reflected that a single comment had left her at a loss for words, proving the dragon mark's power. Yet he also felt his heart pound harder every time he thought of her. Annoyed, he scolded himself for entertaining such thoughts. Then he remembered his daughters who were still waiting for him, while Moon wondered why he hadn't come back yet.
At the gates of the Silver Dragon Temple City, Roswice's sister bids her farewell. With a wave, she announces that she's leaving. Roswice smiles, warning her sister to stay safe on her journey. Already in her dragon form, the visitor insists on meeting Roswice's husband, but Roswice promises to introduce him next time. Moments later, she soars into the night sky. The Silver Queen watches her disappear, her face darkening. She silently vows to teach the dragon hunter a harsh lesson. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Leon suddenly sneezes. As he reads a book, he wonders if the dragon woman is speaking ill of him. He glances over and notices Moon and Noah asleep in bed. Carefully, he pulls the blanket over them so they won't get cold. Then he slips out of the room, moving quietly to avoid waking them. Just as he's about to leave, a hand slams the door in front of him. Roswice stands there blocking his way. He asks if her sister has already left. Irritated, she reminds them they have unfinished business tonight. The queen drags him down the hallway with force, ignoring his desperate protests. Soon, they arrive at a lavish room fit for the queen of the Silver Dragons. A wooden basin of steaming water is set on the floor. Leon asks what she plans to do with it. She declares that she's tired and orders him to wash her feet. The command leaves him stunned. She insists, saying it's punishment for earlier. Reluctantly, the former hunter kneels, humiliated by the task. As he holds her foot, he wonders how many hunters she has crushed beneath these very feet. Roswice, meanwhile, grows suspicious, questioning why he's just staring at her feet. Could he have a fetish? She demands he hurry and place her foot in the water. He lowers her foot into the steaming basin. Suddenly, Roswice shrieks that the water is boiling hot, kicking Leon square in the face. The force sends him sprawling back. She accuses him of seeking revenge by scalding her. Leon smirks, reminding her she was the one who asked for his help. Roswice glares, saying he hasn't learned his lesson. Pressing her foot against his chest, she asks if she ever imagined being stepped on by a dragon. Then she wonders aloud what would happen if she pressed a certain spot. The sharp pressure makes him grit his teeth, overcome by pain mixed with shame. He pleads with her to stop. The dragoness taunts him, eager to see how much he can endure. Yet Leon resolves not to bow to her cruelty. With a sudden move, he grips her foot firmly. He remarks that he's eaten many kinds of legs, but never dragon legs. Roswice freezes, startled by his words. He bites her leg, declaring he'd even eat dragon claws raw. Her enraged scream echoes through the castle, the queen vowing to kill Leon Cosmody. The next morning, Noon stirs awake, still groggy. Curious, she asks her mother why she's limping, but Roswice brushes it off. Soon after, she notices Leon's bandaged face. He gives a vague answer, avoiding the question. The girl tilts her head, confused by their responses. With a bright smile, she concludes they were playing a fun game and insists she wants to join in next time.
In the gardens surrounding the Silver Dragon Castle, Leon and Roswice walked side by side in silence. Ahead of him, the queen's expression was sharp with irritation, while Leon followed, equally uneasy. From a distance, two maids whispered to each other, saying the pair looked like a couple on a romantic stroll, but one of them frowned, noting how unnatural the scene seemed. The queen and prince showed no closeness at all. Roswice strode forward without a word, while Leon's discomfort grew. Finally, he broke the silence, asking why she insisted on this walk. Moments ago, he had refused her invitation outright. The dragoness had only explained they needed to maintain the image of a harmonious family for the public. Now, Leon wondered what she was plotting behind that cold expression. Nearby, Moon observed them from hiding. She pouted, whispering that her father was so clueless he didn't even know to hold her mother's hand. Determined, she decided she would help despite Noah's protests to leave them alone. Ignoring her sister's warnings, Moon darted toward the couple. Startled, Leon asked how she had gotten there so suddenly. Moon ignored the question, taking his hand and Roswice's, firmly joining them together. She declared that to walk properly, they needed to hold hands. From their hiding place, the girls watching them squealed that the scene was too sweet. Moon grinned, deciding their mother was the only one who didn't fit the picture. Leon noticed Roswice's reaction, her rigid posture, the tension in her shoulders. He hadn't expected such a simple gesture to affect her this much. It made him think she really didn't know how to connect with her daughters. Casually, he mentioned that the girls sometimes called her mother. Roswice glanced at him, asking what was wrong with that. He explained that normally children said mommy the way they said daddy, and that their use of mother sounded distant. The queen frowned, unsure if there truly was a difference. With a teasing smile, Leon suggested they encourage the girls to call her mommy, so she would feel closer to them. The idea left
Rossweiss speechless, stunned by the thought. Finally, she agreed they should try it, and then promptly tugged him forward, forcing him to quicken his pace. As they walked, Rossweiss asked him if he missed his home. She claimed she had something to ease his nostalgia. She led him to a storage building nestled at the base of the castle's mountain. Leon asked what kind of place it was. She said it had no name, that he could call it a storage room or back room. Unlocking the door, she repeated that the name didn't matter. Inside, Leon's eyes widened at the treasures before him. He spotted a familiar bracelet, his grandmother's, and muttered that it would be worth a fortune in the Empire. Rossweiss explained that some items held sentimental value, while others were mere spoils of war. Later, Leon asked about her family. The Silver Queen revealed that she and her sister had been raised by their grandmother. He shared that he grew up in an orphanage before being adopted by his master. Curious, he asked what she had really brought him there to see. Rossweiss approached a large chest, claiming its contents would help him forget his worries. When Leon looked inside, he froze. It was his black battle armor, but as his hand reached for it, glowing magical runes flared across its surface. Leon's eyes narrowed as he recognized the seal. He muttered bitterly that his old friend had fallen far. With a triumphant smile, Rossweiss revealed her trap. Leon had finally walked right into it.
As power flared around him, Leon glared at Rossweiss, demanding to know what she had done. With a smug smile, she revealed that she had placed a dragon mark on his armor, activated the moment he touched it. Pain surged through his body as his hand convulsed, clutching at his chest. He cursed himself for trusting her. Rossweiss looked down at him with satisfaction, remarking that the mark's effects would only grow stronger. She lifted his chin, teasingly asking if he could endure it. Gritting his teeth, Leon struggled to speak her name, only to be shoved back, collapsing to the ground. An overwhelming urgency overtook him as Rossweiss knelt closer. She taunted him, revealing she had been searching for a way to break his defenses and hadn't expected him to fall so easily. Flushed and stunned, Leon could only stare up at her. With a victorious smirk, she asked if her performance had been convincing. His voice trembled as he asked if everything she'd said, the stories of her family, their hand-holding, was all a lie. Rossweiss calmly confirmed it was true, but none of it changed her intentions for him. She traced a hand over her own body, reminding him of his own words from before. Smiling wickedly, she confessed she loved being in control, then asked if her dear husband was ready, before kissing him, leaving him cursing her name. The heavy doors of the storage room slammed shut, sealing the hunter's fate. Hours passed before Leon finally let out a shaky sigh of relief, thinking it was over. Beside him, Rossweiss lounged with a satisfied expression. Irritated, Leon asked what she wanted now. Holding his chin, she observed how his scars had faded, noting he looked more mature. He growled back that her trap wouldn't break him. As she dressed, Rossweiss admitted with amusement that he had grown sharper, though her teasing paused briefly, unsettling him. Then, with a mischievous smile, she finished. His body had deteriorated. Leon froze, stunned. Her words echoed in his head, repeated with cruel finality. Your body has decayed. The humiliation sent a cold shock through him, leaving him speechless. The next morning, sunlight broke over the castle. Exhausted, Leon dragged himself to the door, asking who it was. Outside stood Rossweiss with a bright smile, greeting him cheerfully, while Noah stood silently by her side. With a sly look, Rossweiss remarked that he didn't look well rested. Leon snapped back, asking whose fault that was, but she only feigned innocence. Watching, Noah thought to herself that they were already arguing again. Rossweiss then informed him he needed to tutor Noah for the academy's difficult exam. With a sly jab, she added that after last night, he should at least prove his worth in other ways. Leon, furious, insisted he hadn't been in good shape, but promised he'd get Noah to pass, on one condition. Rossweiss agreed, warning him not to make an outrageous demand. With a steely gaze, Leon sealed the deal, while she bid them good luck with their lessons, teasing him not to overdo it. Once she left, Noah asked why he was always arguing with Mommy. Leon blinked, surprised, and asked her to repeat what she had just called Rossweiss. Shyly, Noah said Mommy, holding her book close. Leon grinned, pleased, and teased that she must be the one who wanted to marry him. Noah blushed at his reaction, but said nothing, embarrassed. Declaring it was time to study, she marched forward, and Leon chuckled, calling after her to slow down.
In the grand study of the Silver Dragon's castle, the atmosphere felt far from formal. Two little girls played nearby, their laughter filling the air, while Leon sat at a desk, deeply focused on his notes. Rossweiss approached quietly, arms crossed, and asked why he hadn't gone to bed yet. Without looking up, Leon explained that simple lessons wouldn't be enough for Noah. He was designing a custom study plan so she could pass the upcoming exam in just 1 month. Rossweiss smirked proudly, saying Noah clearly took after her. Leon glanced up with a teasing smile. I doubt that, he said bluntly, before boasting that he had graduated as a genius and earned every honor at his academy. With mock seriousness, he asked Rossweiss how many awards she had won. The question left her momentarily speechless. She studied him quietly, surprised that he wasn't just strong, but also brilliant. Even so, she teased him about being her prisoner. Leon slammed a fist on the table, declaring he'd only been defeated once. Rossweiss's lips curled in a wicked grin as she reminded him that the queen stepped on him. Her attention shifted to a plate of peppers on his desk. What are these for? She asked curiously. Leon explained they were from the kitchen. He planned to use them to stay
awake. Rossweiss raised a brow, warning him they were yellow dragon peppers, far too spicy for him to handle. Ignoring her, Leon popped one into his mouth. The reaction was immediate. "Too spicy!" he yelled, his voice cracking as his mouth felt like it was on fire. He leapt from his chair, frantically searching for water. Rossweiss grabbed his face gently, trying to calm him. Leon froze, stunned by her sudden touch. Blushing slightly, she muttered that her cold hands might help soothe him. Her fingertips felt icy against his burning skin, and he closed his eyes, surprised at how comforting it was. When the heat subsided, he thanked her softly. She pulled away quickly, flustered, and ordered him to bed, warning him not to eat more peppers. As Leon watched her leave, he found himself wishing she touched his face a moment longer, but the warmth was quickly replaced by irritation. He hadn't forgotten she'd deceived him. Shaking it off, he dove back into his books, determined to reclaim control. Hours passed as he flipped through pages, dismissing useless remedies like red dragon fruit and Lingnan Yu herb. Then he stopped. There it was, a description of the Dragon Big Force. A small smile curved his lips. He'd finally found what he needed. The next day, Leon sat beside Noah, reviewing her practice work. She guessed she scored around 50 points. He turned the sheet toward her with a smile. 62 points. It was above her expectations, yet she clenched her tiny fists, clearly disappointed. Leon saw the determination in her eyes. Unlike Mune, Noah wasn't interested in playing. She wanted to excel. He reached over and patted her head gently, telling her 62 was an excellent result. She thanked him, already eager to focus on her mistakes. Suddenly, Leon doubled over in a coughing fit, apologizing that his throat was still raw from the peppers. Rossweiss entered the study, smiling faintly as she told Noah that her father had worked through the entire night, sustaining himself on nothing but those dangerous peppers. Noah pulled out a small container and held it out to him. "For me?" he asked, surprised. The girl nodded. "Mommy sent it for you." Leon blinked, touched, and smiled. "Tell her thank you," he said warmly, wondering how Rossweiss could be so cruel one moment and so kind the next. With renewed energy, he turned back to Noah. "Let's get back to work," he said cheerfully. The two leaned over the desk together, father and daughter growing even closer.
In the kitchen of the Silver Dragon's castle, everything was already prepared. Two maids arrived carrying all the ingredients Leon had requested, setting them on the counter. He thanked them curtly and dismissed them, silently relieved they hadn't questioned why he'd asked for seemingly irrelevant items. In truth, every choice was deliberate. His real plan was a secret. Despite the simplicity of the ingredients, he knew the potion's success rate was notoriously low. With quiet determination, Leon began. He crushed and mixed the ingredients carefully, adding them to a pot one by one in precise order. Hours later, frustration clouded his face. Another failure. He cursed himself for blindly following the book's instructions over and over. The purification step always ruined the brew. According to the text, purification required high heat, but fire risked destroying the medicine entirely. He needed another method to separate the residue without nullifying its effects. A sudden crack of lightning lit the sky outside. Leon paused, glancing toward the window as rain began to patter softly on the glass. Something about the flash of light sparked a thought. He remembered his alchemy teacher's words. Electrolysis can succeed where fire fails. Hope surged through him. He decided to attempt magical electrolysis, though he doubted his own power would be enough. Still, Leon prided himself on precision magic. With steady hands, he focused his energy. Half an hour later, a single gleaming pill rested in his palm. A triumphant smile spread across his face. "Simple," he murmured, proud of having perfected dragon medicine in such poor conditions. At that moment, a cheerful voice interrupted him. "Daddy, what are you doing?" Leon froze. Turning, he saw Moon standing at the doorway. He panicked, trying to hide the pill as she skipped toward him. "Are you hiding candy?" she asked suspiciously. Flustered, Leon quickly replied, "It's medicine, for your mommy." Her expression turned worried. "Is mommy sick?" He reassured her that Rossweiss was fine, explaining it would just help her recover from exhaustion. In truth, he'd made it for himself. Moon beamed and clasped her hands together. "Then take good care of mommy, okay?" Leon smirked faintly. "I will," he said, though his thoughts were much darker. "Once I recover, I'll take very good care of her." That night, a heavy storm swept over the castle. Back in his chamber, Leon sat at his desk studying the pill. He wondered what side effects it might have on a human body. Unsure, he reluctantly set it aside, irritation flashing across his face. A soft knock at the door pulled him from his thoughts. Startled, he asked who it was. The door opened, revealing Rossweiss herself. "I heard from our daughter," she said smoothly. "You made a special medicine for me." Leon froze, mortified. That little traitor, he thought grimly. Rossweiss chuckled softly at his expression. "You gossip more than I thought," he muttered bitterly. She waved off his embarrassment. "Relax. I'm impressed you could create a potion under these conditions." Leon said nothing, realizing she'd take the pill regardless of what he did. Reluctantly, he handed her the small box. Rossweiss opened it, her sharp eyes widening slightly. "This is flawless," she said with genuine admiration. "You've made dragon strength perfectly, even here." Leon stared in shock, unsure if she was serious or mocking him, but the Silver Queen closed the box and handed it back to him. "You should keep it," she said firmly, "but don't take it yet." "What? Why not?" Leon demanded. Her expression turned serious. "Its effects are far too strong for a human. It would destroy your body." Leon blinked, startled. "It's that powerful?" "I'm saying this for your sake," she said coolly. "You wouldn't survive it." Leon's jaw tightened. "You underestimate me. I've killed more dragons than I can count." Without hesitation, he threw the pill into his mouth. "Courage," he declared fiercely, "is humanity's anthem." Rossweiss's composure finally cracked. "Leon!" she screamed in horror. Power surged violently through his body, his veins lighting up as if aflame. Rossweiss lunged forward, catching him as his body convulsed. "You idiot!" she yelled in panic. "I'm terrible at healing magic. Don't dare move." Even through the
pain, Leon tried to speak, but his words came out strained as his body twisted in agony. Roseweiss held him tightly, frantically channeling her power as thunder roared above the castle.
Outside, rain poured heavily, and arcs of energy danced over the castle walls. Suddenly, Leon let out a piercing scream as blue lightning engulfed him completely. Rosweiss's eyes widened in shock. Is he using lightning magic on himself? She thought, panic creeping into her voice. He grit his teeth, enduring the searing pain as currents of power coursed through him. Moments later, his body finally went limp. Rosweiss darted forward, catching him just before he collapsed onto the bed. Kneeling beside him, she exhaled sharply. Have you completely lost your mind? She muttered, brushing wet strands of hair from his face. She turned to leave, deciding to summon the palace doctor, but suddenly felt her wrist being grabbed. Rosweiss froze and looked back, startled by his unexpected touch. In his daze, Leon's hand slid down and gripped her tail. With a dreamy smile, he murmured, "Where do you think you're going, my wife?" Her eyes widened in shock. "Who are you calling that?" she demanded, her voice rising. She tried to pull away, but his grip tightened. "You're not leaving me, wife," he said stubbornly, his voice strangely tender. Rosweiss blinked in disbelief, wondering if the lightning had scrambled his mind. Yet, despite his childlike tone, he didn't appear to be in any danger. With a sigh, she relented. "Fine, what is it you want so badly?" Leon's lips curled into a boyish grin. "I want another child, with my wife." Rosweiss froze, her face burning crimson. "What are you talking about? We already have two," she snapped. But Leon, utterly undeterred, only chuckled. "Then let's have a third." For a moment, she contemplated arguing, but decided it was safer to play along. "All right," she said softly. "We'll have more children, and even visit your homeland someday." Leon's grin widened, his joy childlike. Rosweiss, however, sighed internally. He's even more insufferable when he acts spoiled. "You're the best wife," Leon teased, leaning forward to kiss her. She pushed him back with a firm hand, muttering, "Don't push your luck." Frustration bubbled within her as she wondered when the medicine's effects would finally fade. "Idiot," she hissed before delivering a swift punch to his face. Leon slumped back onto the bed, unconscious again. Rosweiss sighed heavily. I couldn't help it." Yet concern lingered on her face as she bent closer. "Leon, are you all right?" Suddenly, his eyes shot open. "I feel strange," he murmured. Her breath hitched when she saw the dragon mark glowing ominously on his chest. How is it activating now? She thought in alarm. Leon's hand shot up, gripping her shoulder firmly. He pushed her gently, but insistently toward the bed. "Leon, what are you doing?" she asked sharply. "My body, it's too hot. My chest won't stop pounding," he muttered, voice strained. Rosweiss's eyes widened with realization. The dragon mark, combined with the lightning, it's intensifying his desire for vital energy. Leon wrapped his arms around her tail, murmuring softly, "I love you." Rosweiss felt her composure falter. "If this keeps going, I won't be able to hold back either." "Get off me," she barked, "and stop dragging my tail on the floor." But then Leon's hand rose, and his finger rested gently on her lips. His expression softened, his gaze filled with heat. "You're beautiful tonight." The sudden shift in his demeanor stunned her. Gone was his day's playfulness. This was an intensity that demanded no refusal. Rosweiss felt her heartbeat quicken as a strange warmth filled her chest. "Do I want this too?" Leon's voice was low, almost pleading. "Help me, Rosweiss, please, just tonight." Her resolution crumbled. Face flushed, she finally whispered, "Only for tonight." Lightning flashed outside the window as their lips met. The storm howled beyond the castle walls, but within that room, the world had gone silent.
The following morning, sunlight spilled across the palace. Leon finally regained consciousness, still feeling the toll from the night before. Beside him, Rosweiss was watching and asked if he was already awake. Startled, he instantly pulled back, demanding to know why she was there. He sat up, groaning that his entire body ached. As he tried to piece together what had occurred, she asked if he truly didn't recall anything. With a playful grin, she revealed the marks on his back, remarking that a dragon hunter shouldn't forget such evidence. Shocked, he wondered if he had really been the cause of those bite marks. Suddenly, fragments of the night before rushed into his memory. Once the recollections became clear, Leon cried out in humiliation. She then asked if he now remembered how he had pleaded with her the previous night. While he flustered in panic, Rosweiss started repeating the exact words he had spoken. Desperate, the alchemist cut her off, insisting there was no reason to continue since he already remembered perfectly well. He thought to himself that he had crafted the elixir to strengthen his body, but never anticipated the result would be that overwhelming. Leon confessed he had gone too far and asked if he had harmed her, but she reassured him that she was completely fine. With a grin, he pointed out that now she knew his body thoroughly and couldn't claim any longer that he was incapable of handling it. Rosweiss simply replied, then she leaned closer, prompting him to ask what was the matter. She lifted his chin, praising his performance and declaring she expected him to keep it consistent. Offended by her remark, he asked if he had now been reduced to her servant. Switching topics, she brought up the wager they had made about the treatments. Admitting defeat, she asked if he had already decided on his reward. Leon answered with a sly grin that he had indeed made up his mind. He then requested she dispatch someone to check on his master and his master's wife in the Empire. Rosweiss explained that arranging a visit was possible, leaving him sincerely grateful. He straightened up and offered her his thanks more formally. Meanwhile, in the Silver Dragon's sanctuary's garden, Moonay approached him and asked if her father was unwell. Surprised, Leon denied it and asked why she thought so. Moonay explained that her mother had told her it was actually he who had taken the medicine and that men weren't supposed to admit when they're sick. Furious, he fumed over how Rosweiss could say something like that to a child, brooding over his lost dignity.
energy. As the little girl continued pressing him about whether he was still sick, Leon scolded her, accidentally biting his lip and drawing blood. When Moon saw it, she panicked and begged him not to die. Leon quickly calmed her, reassuring her he was perfectly fine, though in his heart he thought how much she resembled her mother, especially in her blunt nature. To distract her, he offered to craft a new toy, which made Moon cheer with delight. He began tinkering with his tools, assembling a small, colorful cube. Presenting the magic cube, he explained she could twist its parts however she liked, and the girl was thrilled. He reflected that he had never considered using his mechanical skills for children, wondering if perhaps he had some talent for it. Suddenly, his expression hardened as he sensed something unusual in the air. At once, he muttered, "Manakor-wai." Moon asked what it was, but he brushed it off, saying it was nothing. Internally, he recalled feeling for an instant the gaze of a dragon from the direction where Noah usually trained. Knowing she likely wouldn't want to come closer, he decided to craft a toy for the older girl as well. Later that night, Noah peeked inside the room while Moon was already asleep. On the table, she noticed a magic cube along with a note from Leon challenging her to solve the puzzle. She picked up the cube, claiming she wasn't interested in childish playthings, yet she couldn't resist turning the pieces with curiosity. Moments later, Noah hugged the gift with a smile and silently thanked her father.
Though St. Heath Academy is a prestigious school of nobility with rigorous standards for dragons, a student's family background is also a key part of the evaluation. Because of this, to preserve the image of a harmonious household, Ross Weiss gathers everyone and brings them to the floating city. Once they arrive, the woman lands gracefully in her majestic dragon form. Leon steps forward and says he'll help Muin down carefully. While he steadies her, the girl asks why he didn't turn into a dragon as well. At that moment, he awkwardly thinks to himself that while he's skilled at slaying dragons, he's no good at becoming one. Shortly after, Noah suspiciously asks if he truly can't transform. Caught off guard by the question, the man falls silent. Ross Weiss explains that his body hasn't fully recovered enough yet to assume dragon form. Touched, Muin asks her father to heal soon, and he promises to try, though inwardly, he knows it's impossible. With that behind them, the family continues on toward the city gates. Amazed by the sight of so many dragons, the girl grows excited, but her sister reminds her not to rush ahead. Just then, Leon begins to tremble noticeably. Ross Weiss observes his reaction, remarking that this is the first time he's seen such a crowd of dragons since waking up. With a teasing grin, she asks if he's frightened. He denies it, claiming instead that he's thrilled. His eyes gleam as he thinks that the streets are overflowing with treasures, and he's bound to get rich. Realizing this, the woman understands she worried for nothing, while he's already running profit calculations in his head. Before long, the bell of a photo studio jingles. An attendant greets them warmly, welcoming the Silver Dragon Queen and her family. As they step inside, Muin excitedly points to the many dragon portraits adorning the walls. Curious, Leon asks why Ross Weiss had to come in person, since rulers typically lead their own clans. After hearing her explanation, he mocks her, saying that her title doesn't hold that much weight. Annoyed, the queen jabs him sharply with the tip of her shoe. Hunched over in pain, he hears her declare that her title is still higher than his. The photographer remarks that it's an honor, and Ross Weiss says they were fortunate to secure an appointment with her. The woman then asks about Leon's tail, but his companion insists on a suit without space for it. She recalls how he once refused to wear tail ornaments, claiming they offended his dignity. Returning to the present, the photographer directs them to try on their outfits, and Muin cheers that she'll get to wear a lovely dress. Not long after, the girls and Noah step out in their new gowns, just as Leon appears in a refined white suit. Overjoyed, Muin instantly praises her father, telling him he looks very handsome. The photographer comments that the outfit suits him perfectly, and Leon recalls that the last time he wore one was at graduation. Smiling, he turns to ask Noah what she thinks. Flustered, the girl admits that he does look handsome. He then compliments his daughter's dresses, saying they look utterly adorable. At that moment, the curtain of the fitting room sways open. Ross Weiss emerges in a sleek black gown, prompting Muin to exclaim that their mother looks beautiful. Leon stares in surprise, completely at a loss for words. When she asks what's wrong, he awkwardly replies that the dress suits her well. The woman suggests he'd look even better with a tail, but he refuses immediately. Soon, the girls call their parents, urging them to hurry. At this, the photographer announces it's time for the portrait, asking the couple to step closer together. Reluctantly, the two edge nearer for the photograph. The photographer then instructs them both to smile and begins the countdown. Moments later, the family portraits are revealed, capturing them all together. Seeing the prints, the photographer praises the couple, saying they truly look like they belong together.
At last, the photographer informed them that the pictures would take around 6 hours to be ready, and suggested the family enjoy a walk around the city in the meantime. As they stepped out, everyone bid farewell to the photographer at the studio entrance. While strolling through the street, Muin called her sister over to check out a stall. Amused, Ross Weiss remarked that they were already going shopping with their father, who explained it was just to unwind before Noah's upcoming test. Before long, the girls became fascinated by the prizes at a game booth. Suddenly, a sharp noise nearby startled the couple. The booth owner cheered the children on, telling them they could hit the target if they kept trying. Watching closely, Leon realized the stall featured shooting games, and Muin eagerly called for him to join. After noticing Noah's failure, he thought the game was rigged, so the owner would always profit. Ross Weiss then explained that it was hard for the girl because the guns relied on faint traces of magical energy. At that moment, the owner offered the pair a chance to play, and win a teddy teddy bear for their daughters. Leon turned and asked the girls if they truly wanted the prize, though they both denied it loudly. He understood their answer really meant yes. Without hesitation, he requested 10 shots from the owner, remarking that Rossways would be the one to secure the win. Gripping the gun, he thanked her and commented he hadn't held one since Hunter Academy. With a sharp shot, he hit the bullseye cleanly. Meanwhile, the booth owner was stunned, certain he had modified the weapon so no one could succeed. To his shock, Leon struck every target in flawless succession. Celebrating, Leon credited his own luck, while the vendor muttered in disbelief that it was impossible. Muin shouted that her father was incredible, and even Rossways admitted he wasn't half bad. The owner begrudgingly handed over the prize, and Leon accepted with a triumphant grin. He then presented the teddy bears to his daughters, who thanked him with delight. Rossways quietly observed the scene. Leon thought to himself that when he put in real effort, he did have a certain charm. Noticing her gaze, he wondered why she was staring at him like that. Nearby, another little girl tugged her mother's sleeve, asking for a teddy bear too. Soon after, Rossways unexpectedly found herself holding a huge teddy bear. Seeing this, Leon laughed at the stall owner's annoyance and, excited, asked the man for 10 more rounds. Though she warned him not to waste time, he retorted that he was simply having fun with his daughters. When the hunter asked if she disliked it, Rossways replied she didn't need one, but he insisted he couldn't leave her empty-handed. Though she thought stuffed bears were pointless, she admitted inwardly they were rather cute. Cradling the teddy bear, Rossways then told him to come to her chambers after dinner. This sudden invitation left Leon utterly stunned. Later that evening, the castle glowed under the lights, setting the scene for their meeting. Walking down the corridor, Leon convinced himself he had been summoned for something intimate. Even so, he reasoned that if he went, he might suffer one night, but if he refused, he'd suffer the entire week. Resolved, he dashed towards her door. To his surprise, the door was already unlocked. Carefully, he stepped inside and called out for Rossways. Hearing the sound of water splashing from the bath, he guessed she was bathing. When he glanced at the frosted door, her silhouette was faintly visible. His heart raced as he convinced himself that they truly were about to share the night together. Trying to settle down, he attempted to calm his rising nerves. Moments later, the bathroom door creaked open. Rossways emerged in a nightgown, inviting him to begin. Panicking, Leon realized she intended to drain every last drop of his energy once again.
At the very beginning, Rossways asked Leon whether he preferred to do it in the living room or out on the balcony. He answered that the balcony would be embarrassing if someone happened to see them. Hearing this, she agreed on the living room instead, remarking that the place didn't make much difference. Leon then shut his eyes and drew in a deep breath, bracing himself for whatever was about to come. Next, he shouted that he was ready to begin. All of a sudden, he flung himself onto the sofa, making her ask what in the world he was doing. Lying there, the hunter asked in confusion if this wasn't what she wanted. Rossways teased him, saying he certainly looked enthusiastic, but it would have to wait for another time. As he sat upright again, he pointed to the scroll she was holding and asked what it was. She revealed it was the St. Heath Academy's test, designed to assess the couple's habits and personalities. She explained that their answers needed to match so as not to harm Noah's evaluation. Leon skimmed the paper and scoffed, wondering if this wasn't just a silly compatibility quiz for couples. He then asked her favorite color. When Rossways answered black, he sent his own answer as silver. Afterward, they swapped papers to compare results. Immediately, they both exclaimed in embarrassment that it had just been coincidence. She then suggested they test how much they really knew about each other, and he agreed. Not long after, Leon announced that he had already completed his part of the test. When they checked the results, he bragged that his score was higher than hers. In her thoughts, Rossways was impressed by the details he managed to get right, even things like the comfort of her tail. Still, she noticed his mistakes only came when he tried to guess what she was thinking. For that reason, she reflected it was normal since she rarely ever opened up to anyone. Because of this, she considered that maybe she could start sharing more with her partner. Meanwhile, Leon noticed her staring and wondered if it was out of anger over the score. Breaking the silence, he chuckled and reassured her, saying it was difficult to get a perfect score with so little time spent together. Right after, he added that for Noah's sake, they needed to make an effort to understand each other better. Hearing that, Rossways was left completely flustered. She quickly hit him and told him to stop stalling and just write the right answers already. The two then argued over the disappointment question, with her expecting him to rely on his dragon strength again. A week later, Leon celebrated their new average while Rossways dozed off in his lap. Satisfied with the result, he quietly said goodbye as he prepared to leave. But when he stood up, she caught his clothes and asked him to wait. She then invited him to take a bath in her bathtub before going. Surprised, Leon asked if she really wanted him to bathe in her room. Without letting him dwell on it, Rossways pushed him toward the bathroom, urging him to hurry inside. Once there, he wondered why she was being so insistent and if she had something planned. In the end, he reasoned she was probably just nervous from the test. With that, he decided to enjoy the moment and slipped into the hot bath. Soon, he sunk back in relaxation, thinking how wonderful it felt. Suddenly, he froze at the sight of Rossways entering the bathroom, clad only in a towel. She approached, saying she had built up plenty of stress and wanted to relieve it now. Hearing that, he thought to himself that he already knew this was coming. Moments later, he shouted for her to find another outlet for her tension and not dump it all on him. Smiling, Rossways replied that transferring her stress onto him was the only way she could unwind. As she slipped into the bathtub, she teased him, asking whether he hadn't stepped in with the same thought. Faced with her question, Leon was left speechless and admitted he had no counter-argument. Finally, she warned him there would be no escape. He should simply accept his fate.
Finally, the long-awaited day of the entrance exam at St. Heath Academy arrived. Upon reaching the grounds, Leon was struck by the magnificence of the academy. Standing at the entrance, he and Rossways grew momentarily serious. Then, with a quiet smirk, the hunter hunter teased her about the stress relief therapy from the previous night. Annoyed, his companion muttered a soft curse, but he only laughed and urged her to head inside. Once within the halls, they observed the crests representing the great families. Soon after, a receptionist called out for Noelle Cosma Melkway of the Silver Dragon tribe. The clerk froze for a moment, surprised as she double-checked her clipboard, confirming that the girl was only 1 year and 3 months old. Leon asked if something was wrong, but the woman explained she was merely startled. She clarified that although the minimum age of entry was 1 year, most dragon hatchlings were between 4 and 6 when they enrolled. Rosswise then interjected, affirming that their daughter was exceptionally gifted and that they respected her decision. Hearing this, the staff member directed them toward the family evaluation on the 4th floor, while Noelle continued on to her own test. Arriving at the indicated floor, they entered the meeting room where they sat on a sofa alongside 3 others. In a hushed tone, Rosswise asked if she thought the other families would be easy to handle. Leon whispered back that they seemed simple to overcome, adding that his former self would have easily defeated them. Noticing the others' glances, he muttered under his breath with irritation, swearing that he'd target every one of them if Noelle failed. At that moment, a man introduced himself as Vice Principal Walter Wilson, the one responsible for overseeing the parental evaluation. Both responded politely with smiles, though the hunter privately suspected the examiner might prove troublesome. The questioning began with the vice principal asking for the date of their wedding anniversary. Hearing this, the couple exchanged a tense glance. It was exactly the question they had dreaded. A flashback showed Rosswise worrying over how to respond since they weren't actually married, while Leon suggested they use a memorable date instead. Returning to the present, she began reciting the agreed-upon day, the year 1733 of the creation era. Together, they cheerfully replied that it was on May 25th, the day they first met inside the dungeon. The vice principal remarked on how quickly their marriage and pregnancy had happened, and Leon smoothly fabricated a story about love at first sight. Next, the evaluator inquired if they had noticed any flaws or bad habits in one another. To sound more convincing, Leon replied with a yes, while Rosswise firmly said no. When pressed to elaborate, Leon admitted that sometimes he felt unimportant at home. Even so, he went on to praise Rosswise, calling her efficient and perfect at handling everything. Yet he noted she often bottled up stress, confessing that he wished he could help more, finishing silently with a plea for her to stop venting it on him. The examiner then asked Rosswise to describe his husband's most admirable qualities. She listed him as handsome, clever, and dependable, adding several of his other traits. Leon forced a smile as he listened, unsure if he was truly being praised or subtly ridiculed. Then she clasped his hand, gently reminding him not to overdo things. A moment later, she squeezed tightly, making him wince slightly in pain. Witnessing this, the panel concluded that the two were clearly a devoted and loving couple. The interview carried on smoothly in a lighthearted mood. For the final round, the evaluator suggested they ask each other one last question. Rosswise smiled, saying she had no need to ask anything since she already knew her partner completely. Turning to Leon, the vice principal waited. Wanting to finish quickly, Leon surprised everyone by asking if she liked the teddy bear he had given her. The sudden question left Rosswise flustered and puzzled as to why he would bring that up now. With a reddened face, she shyly admitted that she liked the gift very much. Pleased, Leon smiled and declared he had no more questions. The evaluator wrapped up the session, thanking them for their cooperation. A few days later, a messenger drake swooped in through the window, and Mume announced the arrival of a letter. Everyone hurried to the table as Leon unrolled the scroll. The message revealed that Noelle had passed the evaluation and was cleared to attend the admission ceremony. Overjoyed, Rosswise declared they should hold a banquet in celebration and teased Leon, saying she'd let him help this time so he wouldn't feel unnecessary. Annoyed, he called her spiteful and petty in response.
And so the long-awaited day of the entrance ceremony at St. Heath Academy finally came. On stage, the headmaster greeted the new pupils, congratulating them on their successful admission. Meanwhile, the hall full of families and students listened carefully to his address. Soon after, the headmaster declared that the top-ranked student, Noah K. Malkavi, along with her family, would step onto the stage. Excited, Muin clapped and cheered when she discovered that her parents and sister would be giving a speech. Then, Leon, Rosswise, and little Noah made their way toward the podium. As they walked, the father recalled how, just an hour earlier, he had been informed about this unexpected speech. Once on stage, he accepted that there was no choice but to face this sudden responsibility. The headmaster then asked the student if she wished to share any thoughts or advice. At first, the girl explained that her mother, a mighty dragon, had always supported her and inspired her to be strong. Next, she expressed gratitude to her sister for always staying by her side, which made Muen extremely happy. Curious, the man wondered whether his daughter would mention him as well. Finally, the young girl thanked her father, who had stayed up countless nights to help her with her studies. Hearing those words, he was deeply touched. The girl ended her speech with a simple word of thanks. Afterward, the headmaster suggested that Leon kiss Noah to display his fatherly affection. Startled, the man wondered if the headmaster was trying to turn this ceremony into his execution. Inwardly, he remembered that only a month ago, the girl wouldn't even allow him to touch her. Whispering, he proposed that they could simply hug instead to avoid overdoing it. However, the girl firmly insisted that he should kiss her quickly and be done with it. Stunned by her words, the father was briefly shocked. Since she pushed for it, he leaned down and kissed her on the forehead. In the audience, Ewan shouted that she wanted to kiss her sister too, but the maid stopped her from rushing forward. Beside them, Rosweiss was relieved that the suggestion hadn't been directed at her. With that, the headmaster praised the Malkavi family for showing the meaning of a genuine family bond. Immediately after, he teased Leon, asking how he could forget his wife after kissing his daughter. Annoyed, he thought the headmaster had gone too far, regretting not confronting him during the evaluation. But when he looked at Noah, he realized he couldn't let something so petty shake him on such an important day. Turning to Rosweiss with a smile, Leon reminded her that they were the most harmonious family. His wife whispered back in disbelief, but he replied that he had no choice, especially with the girls watching them. Rosweiss wondered how her husband could remain so calm while she herself was extremely nervous about being so close. Suppressing her embarrassment, she decided to just kiss him quickly and be done with it. But instead, he simply brushed her cheek with a quick kiss and immediately stepped back. The sudden gesture left her utterly surprised and speechless. Touching her face, she kept trying to process what had just happened. Leon then turned toward the audience and thanked them, even as the crowd shouted for another kiss. Whispering to Rosweiss, he confessed that now he felt much more at ease. The woman realized she'd been tricked and furiously thought she would make him pay if they weren't in public. The headmaster then expressed his thanks to the family and dismissed them so they could rest. Outside, everyone said their farewells, and Rosweiss told her daughter she would come pick her up on the weekend. Clinging to her in a hug, Ewan asked her sister not to forget her, and Noah assured her warmly. Leon reminded her to eat properly, study hard, and take care of herself, but the young girl replied that she wasn't a child anymore. At that, he revealed that he was only passing along the advice her mother had been too shy to give her. In a more serious voice, the father instructed her to fight back if she was ever bullied, assuring her that he would always support her. The girl asked if he had ever done the same, and Leon admitted that whenever he fought, his grandfather would always beat him. Still, he reassured her, saying that unlike her grandfather, he would never hit her for such things. The girl understood the lesson, clenched her fists, and showed her firm determination.
Later, in the office of the Queen of the Silver Dragon Temple, a radiant light filled the room. Meanwhile, Rosweiss was studying a text about the blood spell, a forbidden magic that consumes the life of the caster. As she pondered, she realized that with a small adjustment, the spell could actually be transformed into a valuable resource. Suddenly, the door opened, and she was startled to see someone had already returned. It was Shirley, her trusted handmaiden, who immediately knelt and greeted her as Majesty. The Queen then inquired about the investigation. Shirley regretfully reported that she had not been able to discover the whereabouts of Tiger Lawrence and his wife. When Rosweiss pressed further about their disappearance, Shirley explained that they had carefully erased their traces. Hearing this, Rosweiss concluded that Leon's master was clearly not just some ordinary farmer. For that reason, she instructed her servant to continue the investigation and to report any findings immediately. Moments later, Leon was sparring as he trained with the olden staff. He urged little Muan to swing down with all her might. The girl responded by unleashing a series of strikes in succession, leaving her father stunned. From a short distance, Rosweiss observed the two of them practicing. As soon as the girl noticed her mother, she joyfully called out. Leon then asked if she had finished her patrol, to which she replied yes. Next, Rosweiss asked whether her daughter had behaved properly with her father, and the child proudly confirmed she had been very obedient. Soon after, Rosweiss announced that they would be having steak for dinner and told the girl to go change her clothes first. Muan was thrilled since steak was her favorite. Quickly, the maid took her away while the little one left singing cheerfully about dinner. Once the child was gone, the queen turned to speak with her husband. Suddenly, he lifted the branch he had been training with and pointed it toward her face. Rosweiss raised a brow and asked if he had finally decided to attack her, reminding him that it was only a branch, hardly something one could call a weapon. Even so, she remarked that in his hands, as the strongest hunter, even a branch could become a deadly tool. Leon simply turned his face aside and sighed in reply. A moment later, he asked her to offer him a genuine compliment without sarcasm, but her answer was an outright refusal. Admitting the truth, he had only wanted to startle her. Rosweiss doubted that such a branch could wound her in her current state. Changing the subject, she mentioned that Noah had written a letter, saying everything was fine. Leon thought it wasn't much, but his wife explained that for their daughter, it was her right to reassure them herself. He nodded in agreement, adding that in that way, the girl was very much like her mother. Rosweiss gave him a stern look, about to say something. Then, she spoke, telling him that despite his serious expression, he was truly kind, and that their daughter admired him greatly for his strength. She explained that in her mind, he was like an ideal student she needed to surpass at the academy. Leon smiled in relief, realizing that until now, he had assumed his daughter saw him only as weak. With that,
Rosweiss revealed that Noah often visited him while he was unconscious, and he laughed at her stubbornness. She continued reminiscing, recalling how when their daughters were still babies, only their father could calm them down. The memory showed Leon asleep peacefully with the two infants resting beside him. Even so, he admitted that the concept of blood ties still felt somewhat distant to him. He then recalled his own childhood as an orphan, never fully understanding what a family truly was. At age 5, his master and his master's wife had adopted him, treating him as though he were their own son. For the first time, he felt a sense of home, though at times he still felt an emptiness when he saw real families. Back then, he believed everything would be perfect if only his masters had been his true parents. His master once comforted him, saying that in the future, he too would become a father. She told him that there would be people for him to protect and love, a family bound not just by blood, but by heart. With that memory, Leon reaffirmed his resolve, realizing that his wife and daughters were now his most precious treasures. Rosweiss gently pulled him out of his thoughts, reminding him it was time to return home. He thanked her for the reminder and suggested they head back. As she moved, the woman slid her foot toward the shoe resting on the floor. Noticing his hesitation, she looked at him and asked if he would help her put on her shoes as a token of gratitude. Leon was completely taken aback by the unexpected request.
Despite Rosweiss's insistence, Leon flatly refused to help her put on her shoes. He grumbled that washing her feet had already been humiliating enough, and he had no intention of lowering his dignity further. The queen promptly kicked him in the face, reminding him that he still owed her for the kiss during the ceremony. With a firm tone, she ordered him to quit whining and hurry up so they could leave. Left without another option, Leon reluctantly agreed and began slipping her shoe on. Rosweiss commented that his body obeyed quickly, though he muttered that the task was difficult. The comparison enraged his wife, and in an instant, she lunged at him, trying to knock him to the ground. Leon darted away, shouting that he would never catch him, while Rosweiss furiously chased after him. Days later, Muen ran in excitedly to announce the arrival of someone important. Soon after, a massive dragon descended from the skies before them. Leon noticed that the Leviathan dragon was far larger than Rosweiss in her dragon form. Even so, she explained that despite its size, the Leviathan was gentle in nature and weak in combat. She added that the Academy often used it to transport hatchlings. Immediately, a beam of blue light enveloped the area. From within the glow, a girl's voice declared that she was returning to her mother. Rosweiss welcomed her back warmly, while Muen rushed forward to hug her sister tightly, saying how much she had missed her. Noah then hesitated, trying to call Leon father, but he remarked that she still wasn't quite used to it. As they walked together, Leon said that he and his wife had prepared plenty of food for her. On the table lay Noah's report cards, showing perfect scores and first place in many subjects. The queen smiled proudly, while Muen stared at the results in awe. Noah then handed over a sheet of paper, apologizing for not placing first in the physical aptitude test. Rosweiss told her there was no need to apologize, while Muen insisted that her sister was still the best. Watching the scene, Leon thought he needed to intervene, since one daughter couldn't express herself well and the other tended to exaggerate. So he examined the test results and explained that it was normal for her endurance to be lower than that of older dragons. Pointing at the paper, he noted that she held the highest win rate in her class, excelling in strategy. Noah whispered that she had heard her mother always had perfect scores in school. To reassure her, Leon revealed that he hadn't been top of his class when he first started either, but had gotten there through effort and persistence. He encouraged her not to feel discouraged, knowing she could do even better. Muen quickly agreed with him. Then Muen asked who would win in a fight between their father, who was so strong, and their mother, leaving both parents stunned. At the same time, Leon and Rosweiss confidently declared that they would win. Immediately, they glared at each other, challenging the other's claim. Leon boasted that no one could beat him in combat training, boldly declaring himself the strongest. With disdain, Rosweiss retorted that she would defeat him regardless, even if he had collected more awards. The hunter teased her, saying she had married him because she lost to him, but she shot back that it was actually the other way around. Their argument escalated, ending with the remark that this was how they ended up having children. With that, Leon challenged her to settle the score outside, something he had long wanted to do. When Muen asked if they were really going to fight, Noah suggested they should follow and watch. Soon after, the couple stretched, preparing for battle, while their daughters sat nearby to observe. Muen expressed curiosity about who would win, and Noah explained that watching veterans spar was an excellent way to improve their own skills. Rosweiss then taunted her husband, questioning whether his body had recovered enough for a fight. Leon replied that he didn't care, since it was a rare chance to face the Silver Dragon Queen herself. Seeing his determination, Muin cheered in excitement. Rosweiss smirked and suggested they make a wager, sparking his curiosity. She proposed that if he won, she wouldn't touch him for a whole month, but if she won, he would have to grant her a wish. Leon paused, considering the possibilities. If he managed to win, he imagined enjoying a month-long vacation, something almost unthinkable under normal circumstances. Excited at the thought, he pointed at her and accepted the bet. Then, with challenging smiles, the two faced each other, ready to begin their long-awaited fight.
Leon and Rosweiss stood in silence, facing each other as the tension grew. On the sidelines, Muin sat on the bench, munching popcorn with sparkling eyes. Her excitement got the better of her, and she accidentally knocked over her cup of juice. The loud splash startled the fighters, breaking their concentration. While Muin pouted over her spilled drink, Noah urged them to hurry up and begin already. At her call, Leon launched forward, his fist wrapped in crackling blue energy. But the queen caught the punch effortlessly with one hand, stopping it cold. She immediately countered with a sweeping strike from her tail, forcing Leon to flip backward to dodge. Landing on one hand, he pushed off the ground and launched into another attack, delivering a sharp kick. Though Rosweiss blocked it with her arm, the sheer force pushed her back several meters. She quickly concluded that close combat put her at a disadvantage and decided to create distance. As she stepped back, magical energy flared around her. Declaring that the method didn't matter as long as she won, she began preparing a ranged assault. A blast of magic shot forth, but Leon slipped past it with ease. Noah frowned in worry that their father might lose, but Muin calmly explained that both were simply using their strongest strategies. From that, the younger girl realized their mother wasn't confident in hand-to-hand combat. Impressed, she praised her sister's sharp observation, to which Noah proudly explained she had learned it in class. Rosweiss then challenged Leon, asking if he could dodge her next attack. Amidst the gathering magic, Leon smirked and replied that he wasn't just fast, he was also durable. With a confident smile, the dragoness gathered even greater power. Suddenly, Leon was caught between two massive waves of magic. The explosion that followed consumed the battlefield in blinding light and deafening sound. As the dust slowly cleared, Leon emerged cloaked in lightning, declaring that her attack was far too slow. Rosweiss's eyes widened. Her husband had used lightning magic to reinforce his body. Determined, Leon roared that no one was going to take away his hard-earned month of vacation. He charged at blistering speed, breaking through her magical defenses with reckless abandon. Realizing the danger, she decided the battle needed to end quickly. Spotting an opening in her guard, Leon's lips curved into a confident grin. He swept her legs out from under her, catching her completely off guard. Rosweiss lost balance mid-air, but before she could hit the ground, Leon grabbed her arm and pulled her into his embrace. The fight stopped in that instant, the two holding each other closely, their faces flushed with embarrassment. Rosweiss whispered his name softly, but the moment shattered when Leon suddenly screamed in panic. A burning sensation erupted in his chest. A dragon flame ignited within him. He clutched at himself, crying that it was burning him, completely confused by what had happened. With an exasperated sigh, Rosweiss scolded him for getting distracted during battle. As the flame quickly faded, their daughters rushed over. Muin asked eagerly who had won. Leon admitted with a sigh that since he had let his guard down, he had lost. Rosweiss acknowledged his strength, especially since he fought without equipment, but Leon stubbornly boasted that at full power he would defeat her. With a triumphant smile, Rosweiss reminded him of their wager. Realizing what he had just lost, Leon collapsed to the ground in despair, cursing himself for forgetting the bet. Muin and Noah gasped, asking if their father had died. Rosweiss calmly reassured them that he was just exhausted from overdoing it and would recover soon.
Night had fallen over the Silver Dragon Sanctuary. In the children's room, Leon knelt down to say his goodbyes. He gently patted Noah's head, asking her to take care of Moen, and told the youngest to behave while he was gone. Yet, as the moment dragged on, his eyes grew misty with emotion. "You're acting like it's forever," Noah said dryly, tilting her head. "It's just one night with Mother." Leon's face turned pale. "One night of torture by your mother is far worse than an execution." At that, Moen giggled mischievously. "So Mother's going to eat you, Father. I read in the book that females eat the males." Leon froze, horrified, while Moen looked delighted by the idea. At that moment, Rosweiss appeared in the doorway, glaring at him. "What nonsense are you filling their heads with?" she scolded. She walked over and tucked the girls into bed. "I'll only discuss the interesting things with your father," she said firmly. The daughters exchanged glances, whispering about what interesting things could mean. Leon and Rosweiss gave vague and conflicting answers, but the queen
queen's patience quickly snapped. "That's enough," she said, grabbing Leon by the arm. "Wait, let me say my last words," Leon cried dramatically as she dragged him away. "I'll always love you both," he shouted back to his daughters. Noah sighed. Adults are so immature. In the queen's chamber, 2 bottles of wine and a pair of glasses waited on a table. Rosweiss poured 2 servings, offering one to Leon. He refused the drink, crossing his arms. The queen stared silently at her own glass. "You promised to grant my request after losing the bet," she reminded him. Leon frowned. "I'm not in the mood. I need to stay sober so you won't manipulate me." Unexpectedly, Rosweiss smiled faintly. "Truth is, I actually wanted you to win the fight," she confessed. Leon blinked in confusion. "What? Why? If you'd won," she explained softly, "you'd have had a month to recover and maybe become more interesting." Still suspicious, Leon muttered, "Then why didn't you just surrender?" "I had an idea for a fun little game." Her eyes glimmered. Tilting her glass, Rosweiss poured wine down her own body, smiling at his shocked expression. "I love the face you make when you lose," she murmured. "What are you doing?" Leon exclaimed, his voice trembling. "Drink it all," she ordered seductively. The scent of wine mingled with her perfume, overwhelming his senses. For Leon, the sight became irresistible. Acting on impulse, he leaned in and drank the wine directly from her skin. Rosweiss gasped softly at his unexpected boldness. When the last drop vanished, she looked at him, flushed. "Was it good? Like that?" she asked breathlessly. Leon smirked faintly. "It's clearly not enough for you. Open your mouth," she commanded. Before he could react, she bit her own lip, drawing blood. A single crimson drop fell into his mouth. Leon's eyes went wide. "Blood!" He stumbled back, pushing her away. "What are you doing? Did you cast a forbidden spell on me?" Her expression darkened, her voice calm but heavy. "It's the blood curse," she said, the same one he already knew. Leon's eyes began to glow a deep, burning red. "Do you even know the price of that spell?" he demanded. With a sly smile, she replied, "I've modified the incantation. Only the enchantment remains." Heat surged through his body as his mind started to fade. "It's burning me. My thoughts." Rosweiss placed her hand on his chest. Her tone shifted, less queen, more woman. "I've always forced you to stay by my side, even when you didn't want to." She leaned in, her breath warm on his ear. "Now," she whispered, "I want you to obey my orders."